If you run any kind of automation at scale, sooner or later a captcha stops you cold. And how you handle that one wall decides whether your whole pipeline keeps moving or grinds to a halt. CAPTCHA solving services exist to clear that wall for you, and the market has changed a lot because the old human-powered model and the new automated model are now genuinely different products. Today I am going through the real options, 2Captcha, CapSolver, and the rest, and which one actually fits the kind of work you are doing. Quick context on where I sit. I run proxy infrastructure. I am not a capture company, so this is a straight buyer guide with no product of mine in it. But I use these services constantly for legitimate data collection and testing work. So this is from actual use, not a spec sheet. And there is one honest point at the end about why even the best solver will not save a bad setup, which is the part most people skip. Here is the plan. First, how a captcha solving service actually works under the hood. Then the two models, human-powered versus automated, and why the split matters. Then the providers compared, what each is good at, and the one thing that decides which you should pick. So how does a solver work? Your automation hits a page. The page throws up a captcha, and instead of a person sitting there clicking traffic lights, your code sends that challenge to the solving service through an API. The service works out the answer, or produces the token the page needs, sends it back, and your automation submits it and carries on. You are essentially renting the ability to answer challenges on demand, billed per challenge, usually priced per thousand solves. Let me make that flow concrete, because once you see the shape of it, the whole market makes more sense. Most of these services work the same way. You make a request to their API, and you hand over the few pieces of data the challenge needs. For the common modern types, that is usually the site key, the public identifier the page exposes, plus the page URL, and sometimes a bit of extra page data, that is your input. The service takes that, goes off and works the challenge on its own side, and hands you back a token, a long string the target page will accept as proof the challenge was passed. That token is your output. You drop it into the spot on the page the captcha was guarding, submit the form or the request, and your automation moves on. The part people miss is that this is not instant. You do not call once and get the answer in the same breath. You submit the job, the service gives you a task ID, and then you poll. You ask, is it done yet, every second or two until it comes back ready with the token. For a human network, that wait is however long it takes a person to look at it and click. For an automated service, it is much shorter, but it is still a submit then poll pattern, not a single round trip. Understanding that in and out, you send the page data, you poll, you get a token back, is enough to read any of these providers' docs and know exactly what you are buying. Now the big split. The original model is human-powered. Services like 2Captcha and anti-captcha route your challenge to a pool of real people who solve it and send the answer back. The strength is that humans can handle almost anything you throw at them, including weird image puzzles and brand new challenge types, because a person just looks at it and gets it. The weakness is speed and cost at scale. A human takes a few seconds and you are paying for human time on every single solve. The newer model is automated, machine solving. Services like CapSolver and CapMonster use their own systems to crack the common challenges without a human in the loop. The strength is speed and price. A machine answers in a flash and costs far less per solve when you are doing volume. The weakness is coverage. Automated solvers are brilliant at the challenge types they have been built for, and weaker on the rare or brand new ones a human would shrug off. So the split is really humans for flexibility, machines for speed and scale. It is worth slowing down on that trade, because it is the whole decision in miniature. The human network charges you for human time, so it costs more per solve and it is slower, but it almost never hits a challenge it cannot do, because a real person can read anything you put in front of them. The automated service is the opposite. It is cheap and quick on the handful of challenge types it has been engineered around, and outside that lane it is far less sure of itself. So you are not picking a better service in the abstract. You are deciding whether your work needs the flexibility of a person or the speed and price of a machine, and that depends entirely on what your targets actually throw at you. It helps to know the challenge types because they decide everything. There is reCAPTCHA version 2. Click the checkbox and sometimes pick images 1. There is reCAPTCHA version 3, which never shows a puzzle at all and instead silently scores how human you seem in the background. There is HT-CAPTCHA, a common privacy-focused alternative. There is Cloudflare Turnstile, which a huge slice of the web now sits behind. And there are plain image and text captchas. The modern trend is toward the invisible, score-based challenges, the ones that judge your behavior rather than asking you to solve a picture, and those are a different beast to handle, and that trend matters more every year. The old world was a puzzle. You solve the picture, you pass. The new world is a judgment. A score-based challenge like reCAPTCHA version 3 is watching how you arrived, how you move, how the rest of your connection looks, and quietly deciding whether you seem human before any puzzle ever appears. There is no picture to hand to a solver, so the solving service has to produce a token that carries a believable score, which is a harder problem than reading a crosswalk. And at the top of that pile sit the heavy behavioral anti-bot systems, the data dome class of thing, which are a different and harder category again. These are not really captchas in the old sense. They are full fingerprinting and behavior engines, and plenty of solving services that breeze through token challenges quietly struggle there. If your target sits behind one of those, do not assume any solver clears it. That is exactly the case you test before you commit a sense. Let us go through the names. 2Captcha is the veteran of the human-powered world. It solves basically everything. It is reliable, it has been around forever, and it is the safe default when you face an unusual or constantly changing challenge that a machine might choke on. It is not the cheapest per solve, because you are paying for that human flexibility, but it almost never leaves you stuck. In my own use, it is the one I reach for when a target is doing something odd and I just need it handled without engineering around it. Anti-Captcha sits right next to it, another mature service with both human and automated options, solid reputation, broad coverage. If you like the human-powered approach but want a second option to compare, it is the obvious one. Functionally, you are choosing between two well-established human-first networks, and the honest truth is that for most jobs, either will do the work. I keep both in the toolkit so that if one is slow or congested on a given day, I can fail over to the other rather than sit there waiting. CapSolver is the name leading the automated side. It is fast, it is priced well for volume, and it is particularly strong on the token-based challenges, the reCAPTCHA and the Cloudflare turnstile work that a lot of modern sites use. If your challenges are the common, well-known types, and you are doing serious volume, the automated approach saves you real money and real time over paying humans. That is its whole pitch, and it largely delivers on it for the mainstream challenge types. Where it earns its place is steady, repetitive work against the same kind of wall, thousands of the same token challenge, where paying a human every time would be slow and expensive for no extra benefit. CapMonster is worth knowing as the self-hosted automated options. Instead of paying per solve to someone else's service, you license the software and run it on your own machine, which can work out cheaper if you have steady high volume and the technical setup to host it. It is the choice for someone who wants the automated model but wants to own the pipeline rather than rent it solve by solve. The catch is that you are now running infrastructure. You maintain it, you scale it, you keep it fed with resources, so it only pays off once your volume is high enough and constant enough to justify owning the thing instead of renting per solve. For a small or bursty workload, renting is simpler and usually cheaper once you count your own time. So what actually decides which one you pick? It is not the brand, it is the match between the service and your specific challenge. Work out exactly which captcha type your target throws at you, then pick the model that handles it best. Common token-based challenges at volume, lean automated with CapSolver or CapMonster, rare, weird, or constantly shifting challenges, lean human with 2Captcha or anti-Captcha. Price per thousand matters, but only after you know the service actually clears your particular wall, because a cheap solver that fails your challenge type is infinitely expensive. Always test on your real target with a small balance before you commit, and weigh it on the things that actually move the bill, not the logo. There are really 4 levers. 1. Supported types. Does it even handle the challenge your target uses? 2. Solve speed, because if you are running volume, a slow solver becomes a queue that backs up your whole pipeline. 3. Price per thousand. The headline cost, once you know it, clears your wall. And 4. Reliability on your specific target, which you only learn by trying it. Those 4, in that order, decide it. Notice price is third, not first. The cheapest service that cannot reliably clear your wall is not cheap. It is a tax on every run, because you pay for the failed attempts and you still do not get through. Now the honest point I promised, and it is the one that saves you the most grief. A CAPTCHA solver does not fix a bad connection. If your IP is already flagged, the site does not just show you one CAPTCHA. It escalates. It throws harder and harder challenges. It raises its suspicion score, and eventually it blocks you no matter how good your solver is. People pour money into a premium solver to fix a problem that was never the CAPTCHA. It was the address the CAPTCHA was reacting to. A clean IP means fewer and easier challenges in the first place, which means you spend less on solving them. I learned that one the expensive way. I had a job that kept failing, more CAPTCHAs every hour, and the instinct was to throw a better solver at it. So I upgraded to a premium automated service and turned the budget up. It barely moved the needle because the target had already decided my IP was suspicious and was escalating on every request no matter what came back. The moment I swapped to a clean address, the challenge rate fell off a cliff, and the same solver that was drowning a minute ago sailed through. The solver was never the problem. The connection was, and no amount of premium solving fixes an IP the site has already made up its mind about. So the solver and the proxy work together. They are not substitutes. Yes, I sell the proxy side, so take that bias into account, but you can prove it yourself. Run the same targets through a clean IP and a flagged one, and watch how many more challenges the flagged one triggers. The cheapest CAPTCHA is the one you never get shown. If you want the full comparison, the per challenge notes, current pricing, and which service clears which wall, I keep it updated at blackhatreview.org/best/CAPTCHA. I do not sell a solver, so the ranking only reflects what actually worked on real targets. Next up, I am doing something a bit different. How to spot a scam vendor on BlackHatWorld, the checklist that saves you from the most common way people lose money on these forums. If that is useful, subscribe. There is one tested, honest review here every weekday. I will see you in the next one.